Some time has passed between last Sunday's reading from Exodus and today's. Through the courage of those 5 women, the infant Moses was saved. Do you remember their names? Shiphrah, Puah, Jochebed, Maris, and Miriam. But between that story and today's, a few things happened. One day, when Moses had grown up, he saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew, and so he killed him. And Moses fled into exile into the land of Midian. There, after saving the daughters of the priest of Midian, he married one of them, Zipporah, had a child, Gershom, and settled down to his new life. And this could have been the end of the story, but it was not. Our story today begins with Moses, grown up in the land of Midian, out working, keeping the flock of his father-in-law Jethro. While he is out doing his job, he notices something astounding, a bush blazing on fire, yet not consumed. I must turn aside and look at this great sight, says Moses. And so he does. And the story says that when the Lord saw that he had turned aside to see, God called to him, "Remove your sandals from your feet, for the place on which you are standing is holy." The place on which you are standing is holy. Shepherds do a lot of traveling, a lot of walking in their work. And so I imagine that Moses had been all over the land before the day he turned aside to see this great sight, before he stopped to hear the voice of the Lord calling upon him to remove his sandals, for the ground that he was standing on was holy. What made that ground holy? I wonder what set this place apart, other than this marvelous sign, from all those other places where Moses had led his animals before, where they had walked, ate, defecated, where rain had fallen, wind blown, and plants grown. Not much, I imagine. I hope even. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of the glory of God, it says in Isaiah 6:3. The people of God have learned over and over again that God is not confined to a temple or place, that the earth is full, simply brimming over with the glory and grace and power and love and presence and goodness of God. The beautiful truth is that anywhere, absolutely anywhere, is a place where a burning bush may appear. For it is holy. It is all holy. God is there. And so I think a question for us is, have we been walking by burning bushes without realizing it, without stopping to turn aside? Have we been on holy ground this whole time without even knowing it? There are some places in this world where it is easier to turn aside, where it is easier to remember that the ground we walk on is holy. These are sometimes called thin places, particularly associated these days with Celtic spirituality. A thin place is where heaven and earth are close, the barrier between them slim. One of those places for me and for many others is Sorrento Center, that Anglican retreat and conference center on the Shuswap Lake I have spoken about before. I imagine that you have your very own thin places, and I wonder where they are. But for me, especially when I was younger, Sorrento was a place where God seemed closer, where community and relationship felt richer and deeper, where it felt easier to be vulnerable, to be myself, to follow in the way of Jesus. Growing up, I could not wait to get back to Sorrento, to this holy place where I could more fully be myself, more fully be alive. It felt like I could wake up there to the glory and presence of God. However, I had a realization, an epiphany one day. The penny finally dropped. I realized maybe the point of Sorrento was not to go there to get away, to escape to this God oasis, but to take that place, what I had learned and experienced there, with me everywhere I went. What if I could be as close to God, experience the depth of community and relationship, be vulnerable, myself alive, and follow Jesus everywhere? Thin places are just as holy as everywhere else. However, their purpose is not as an escape from the world, but to help us to see and experience that same holiness everywhere we go. They train us, prepare us to see it, so that we may see and turn aside at those burning bushes in our lives, which can pop up anywhere, where we least expect them even. In the letter of Paul to the Romans, we hear a long list of ethics, actions, a picture of what it looks like to follow Jesus, the power of a life of faith lived out. And it's a powerful reading. I can't go through it all today. There is so much. And so I invite you to sit with these words from Paul this week. Read them and imagine, dream what it would be like if all of us leaned into and embraced this way of being in the world. It would be a sight to behold. This is how some of it goes. Let love be genuine. Hate what is evil. Hold fast to what is good. Love one another with mutual affection. Outdo one another in showing honor. Rejoice in hope. Be patient in suffering. Persevere in prayer. Contribute to the needs of the saints. Extend hospitality to strangers. Bless those who persecute you. Bless and do not curse them. Rejoice with those who rejoice. Weep with those who weep. Live in harmony with one another. Do not be haughty, but associate with the lowly. Do not claim to be wiser than you are. And it goes on. Where and when are we to do this, to live our faith? To pick up our cross and follow Jesus like it says in our gospel reading today? I think we can look back to our reading from Exodus. Where are we to follow God? We are to follow God wherever God is. And that is where we are. Wherever we are, that is where God is. That is where the holiness resides. That is where the church is. That has been a big reminder and learning for me at a time when we are not in our building. A reminder that the church is not a building, that the church does not need a building to be the church. It is not that our space is unimportant. In some ways, it acts as a thin place where we gather to be close to each other, be close to God. However, God is not confined to the four walls of St. John the Divine building. The work of the church, our work, is not confined to an hour and a half each Sunday morning at 1930 Diamond Road. Our time together should at its best prepare us, help us to do the work, to be the church wherever we are. That's why I've been loving filming our services in different places, inside and outside the church building, at people's homes, by the river, on the mountain, because that's where God is. That's holy ground. That's where the church is. That's where we are called to turn aside and see the amazing things that God is doing, to listen to God's voice, and like Moses, say yes. That is the place for us to pray and love, rejoice and weep, pick up our crosses and follow Jesus. Amen.